they are here today and that we can discuss about last few years that hardly involve each of us in one or another way, and hopefully we can make, let's say, a kind of conclusion or even have a better insight of the subject and the problem. You are all welcome, of course, to ask a question and to discuss and to debate, or if you even better have your personal experience in any way, you can join the discussion and it will be just fine. I hopefully hope that Dragan from Osijek, who is a member of Are You Serious, who maybe you know he was prosecuted from Republic of Croatia because he helped a migrant, that he can speak about his subject and his matter from the legal and way, and also from an aspect of us who are involved in helping the people in need. But we will see, because we cannot make a contact with him. Anyway, after the panel discussion, we will have a small coffee break. You can mingle, you can discuss, you have tea, coffee, and I will bring you some snacks. After that, the theater of, sorry, in English I forgot the name. Dear Press will have interactive theater performance, and you are welcome to join and to stay. When we will finish, it doesn't matter. So thank you again for coming. It's really nice to see you, that you all are here. I didn't expect it, and so my heart is full. So I will give my word to Lana, Antonia, and Barbara. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for being here. As Eva introduced, so we are here because PAN organization organized this event through the EU Pact on Asylum and Migration project. The topic is, of course, the respect of human rights on the way to dignity. Today, as you've already said, with us are Barbara Gerlich from Pravna Klinika, the group for help to asylum seekers and strangers that is working through the Pravni Faculty of Law in Zagreb. Here is also Antonia Pingulic, a lawyer from Center for Peace Studies. Here with us is also Mohammed Yafo, 19-year-old Kurdish from Syria living in Croatia. And as you have all had a chance to see back there, also a young prominent artist, I should say. And of course, if Dragan comments, then we'll also be talking with Dragan, a volunteer from Are You Serious, who was criminalized for helping refugees, which is called criminalization of solidarization, and which has become a serious and dangerous trend, not only in Croatia, but also in the European Union in more than the last few years, but it has intensified in the last few years. Okay, I will. Since Barbara still doesn't have her microphone, I will just give you the structure of today's panel. We will first talk with her about the legal system in Croatia, about how to get asylum in Croatia, and then we will talk with Antonia how that path is actually being enabled with not only Croatian but EU politics on asylum and migration. After that, we will talk with Dragan, and we will leave Mohammed for the end to put together his witness and his exhibition, because those are very much connected. Barbara, You've been working in a legal clinic,
Yes.
and you know everything there is to know when it comes to legal frame about gaining asylum and international protection in Croatia. When it comes to legal frame, as I said. So how is it in Croatia? What's the process?
So in Croatia, we have an act on international and temporary protection. And according to that act, there are two kinds of international protection, asylum and subsidiary protection. Asylum will be granted to an applicant who is outside of the country of their citizenship or habitual residence and has a well-founded fear of persecution owing to their race, religion, nationality, affiliation to a certain social group or political belief, as a result of which they're not able to or do not wish to accept the protection of that country. When it comes to gaining asylum, there are two kinds of tests which are made. We have subjective test and objective test. Subjective test, we are trying to see is there really that well-founded fear. That means that we are trying to see what are the reasons for leaving the country of origin. For example, religion or war or something like that. And then we have objective test. And when we have objective test, we are looking, is there a protection from that country of origin? That means in which state is that country? For example, is there really war? Is there really some kind of danger for this person? Then we have subsidiary protection. Subsidiary protection will be granted to an applicant who does not meet the conditions to be granted asylum. In cases where justified reasons exist to indicate that if this person is returned to their country of origin, the applicant would face a real risk of suffering serious harm. So you can notice that when I talked about asylum, we have a well-founded fear, and here we have serious harm. So when it comes to subsidiary protection, there is that serious harm, and that this person is also unable, owing to such risk, or unwilling to accept the protection of that country. Serious harm means that there is a threat of death by penalty or execution, torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, as well as serious and individual threat to the life of the civil population due to arbitrary generalized violence in situations of international or internal armed conflicts. So the difference between asylum and subsidiary protection is actually that when it comes to asylum, it has to be direct danger for that person as an individual to stay in their country of origin. And when it comes to subsidiary protection, it means that this person is in danger in its country of origin, his or her country of origin, because that person is part of some kind of group, for example, religious group. So the reasons for persecution are assessed in terms of the content of the following terms: race, religion, nationality, and political opinion. Persecution and serious injustice can be perpetrated by, so what kind of bodies persecute this person or can cause serious injustice. For example, state bodies, parties, or organizations controlling the state or a significant part of the state. And it has to be proven that state bodies or parties or organizations controlling a significant part of the state territory, including international organizations, are not able to or don't want to provide protection from persecution or suffering of serious injustice. It is important to say that according to our Act on International and Temporary Protection, it is prohibited to forcibly remove or in any way return a third country national or a stateless person to a country in which her life or liberty would be jeopardized by these reasons, for example, because of race, religion, nationality, and political opinion, or a country in which he or she may be subjected to torture, inhuman or degrading treatment, or in which, or to a country which could extradite him or her to another. That was the so-called material part of the story, and now we have the part how a person can get international protection. So in order for a party to exercise its right to international protection, it is necessary to express the intention. That's the first step. So express the intention for application and then to apply for international protection. If the third country national or stateless person is already in the territory of the Republic of Croatia, he or she expresses his or her intention in the police administration, police station, or the reception center for foreigners. Immediately after the expressed intention, police officers or shelter officers are obliged to take fingerprints of the applicant, photograph him, establish his identity, manner of arrival in the Republic of Croatia, a direction of travel from the country of origin to the Republic of Croatia, and personal circumstances important for assessing acceptance and procedural guarantees. The competent bodies are obliged to inform the Ministry of the Interior without delay. The competent authorities shall register the applicant in the records of the ministry no later than 3 working days from the day when this person has expressed his or her intention. The body that performed the registration issues a certificate of registration of the applicant in the records of the ministry, and if necessary, will determine the deadline within which the applicant must report to the shelter in order to submit the application. The Ministry of Internal Affairs decides on the request for international protection, and an administrative dispute may be initiated before the administrative court against the decision of the ministry. The request, so first we have the intention and then we have the request. The request is submitted directly to the shelter by orally making a statement on the record, which initiates the procedure for granting international protection. The applicant will be allowed to submit a request to the shelter as soon as possible and no later than 15 days from the registration of the status in the records of the ministry. Exceptionally, the applicant will be allowed to submit a request outside the shelter within a reasonable time, depending on his or her personal circumstances. And then we have this examination procedure. So an official of the ministry should conduct this examination procedure as soon as possible and enable the applicant to state all the facts and circumstances that are important for the procedure of granting international protection. During this hearing, the applicant is obliged to give credible and convincing explanations of the reasons on which he bases his request and to enclose all available evidence in support of his request and to truthfully answer all questions asked. The applicant is obliged to personally attend and participate in this examination procedure. And regardless of whether he or she has some kind of representative, special guardian or attorney, delivery of the decision on the request shall be made in person to the applicant in a language that is reasonably assumed for him or her to understand and in which he or she can communicate. So that was from Croatian Act on International and Temporary Protection. The next part I have in Croatian. I haven't prepared in English the rest of my speech. So this is like the first part.
The first part.
Yes.
Okay, we will come back to the process, except if maybe Mohammed wants to tell us if you've been hearing Barbara. She was talking about this process when you first apply for the protection in Croatia, what you go through. From your experience, was your process as she described? Or it took more time than it was described here, since here they say very short terms, like 3 days, in 3 days you get this, in 15 days you get this. So was your process that short, or your experience was different from this process?
It was very short because I came from Turkey with one organization called IOM.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually very short because I came from Turkey to here with one organization called IOM. And yes, we got the asylum scare after 15 days, and it was very easier to get it because everything was prepared before we came to Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's all.
Maybe just to explain from the legal point of view, this is part of the resettlement process. It's not the typical situation where a person comes to the border crossing and shares intent to seek asylum, as Barbara was explaining. So the process is shorter, as you said, because Croatia is actually prepared to take in several persons that are being resettled from another country through IOM. Yeah. So just to explain maybe the context a bit. Yeah.
And from your experience working legally with seekers, is this process in practice as it is in the legal frame for those who enter Croatia borders and then ask asylum, or the process gets delayed? And I would also like to go to this first part of your lecture about this framework that seems to be good, but then I'm really interested to know about the practices, because I know the situations where people were, as Barbara said, you don't return people to countries where their life is jeopardized. But I know from my experience working with some people, I know that they were returned back to the countries where their lives were jeopardized. We had this whole problem with deporting Afghani people because Croatia thinks that Afghanistan is a safe country. So can you give me, just from your experience, this how they say it, where the legal frame sounds okay, but what actually happens in practice?
Yeah, what actually happens in practice is quite different. And a lot of people don't even get into this process of seeking asylum. And it is explained, it is regulated in our laws, as Barbara mentioned. But the issue is that, as she said, the first step is to, sorry, I don't have a, oprosti.
Pa mislim da neće trebati.
Okay. So, the problem is that when this first step happens, which is the crucial step in seeking asylum, where a person shares their intent to seek asylum, from that point on, the law is not implemented in many of the cases, which means that the police officers to whom this intent to seek asylum is being shared completely ignored this intent, and push people back outside of any legal framework, outside of everything we just heard here. So what actually happens at our borders?
So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
if I'm getting you correctly, we can't even talk about the problems in the process of getting asylum, because we don't even allow people to ask for the asylum. Also, Barbara said, you need to provide that process the moment the person expresses intention on the territory of Republic of Croatia, no matter how the person entered that territory.
Exactly.
So you're talking about the pushbacks.
I'm talking about the pushbacks. Yes. The thing is that some people do enter this process, and there are some issues with the process as well, because it takes longer than it's supposed to be in the law, etc. But now I will not talk about the problems in the process, but the problem that thousands of people on yearly basis cannot enter the process at all. And what happens to them is pushbacks, which at this point in time is the most violent human rights violation in Croatia.
But also the European Union.
Also the European Union. Now I will talk a lot about the Croatian border, but yes, we need to be aware that this is something that happens on almost all, if not all, external borders of the European Union.
I'm sorry, and it's blessed by the European Union.
It is.
Immigration politics.
It is. It is blessed, and the politics of the European Union are set in a way that it tries to externalize the asylum system. So to kind of switch the responsibility to third countries, to, for example, Turkey, for their asylum system, and try to actually keep people out than actually implementing its own laws. So yes, it is extreme violation of human rights, and it's huge, and it really violates the very right to life and freedom from torture. And it's systematic. In Croatia, it's really systematic. And we see that not only from the numbers of cases, which is like thousands of cases I have here for last year. The Danish Refugee Council that is active in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So in past 2 years, in 2020, the Danish Refugee Council recorded 16,425 cases of pushbacks. So it's groups of people. It's not even the number of people. It's groups of people. Some of them are being pushed back several times. Some of them even report that they've been pushed back for 30 times. So this is only one organization. And so this is just a small chunk of what is actually going on at our borders. So just, to give you a kind of the picture of the problem. And when I say that it's systematic, it's because first, it's been going on for 5 years now. So it's been going on for 5 years, and we have thousands of testimonies of people explaining what happened to them, evidence, medical evidence that show that these bruises are from police buttons, and other forensic stuff, and not to go into detail, but so we have evidence, we have videos, we have photographs, we have testimonies, we have reports from the national NGOs, international NGOs, international and national institutions. So there's a lot of material proving that this is actually happening. And we have non-effective investigations in any of these cases. So that is a huge problem that points that this is a systematic problem. Also, what proves that this is a systematic problem is that, except all that I mentioned, we also have testimonies of police officers seeking protection from the ombudswoman because they say that they've been given illegal orders to carry out pushbacks. And still, this is ongoing. So we had also the case where the journalists took videos of policemen beating people and pushing them back to Bosnia and Herzegovina. And still, these policemen were only disciplinary sanctioned for being dressed in a wrong way. So,
Full clothes. They didn't have the marks that shows that they're police, which shows that they're covering actually what they're doing. And that this was the disciplinary act on them.
Yeah.
Not even going through those who gave the order to do so. So
exactly. Yes. Because it's hierarchical. Like it's not, it wouldn't last for 5 years, more than 5 years, if it's just a group of mean policemen. It's the whole kind of structure and hierarchy involved. And
sorry, we also had some testimonies from the policemen.
Exactly.
Some of the policemen came out with the testimonies.
And they said, okay, I've been given illegal orders, and there's no way, like legally, there's a way for the policemen to report illegal orders, and there are sanctions, but this doesn't work. That like this internal system doesn't work because it's corrupted. And this is kind of more of a political kind of context that we are in for 5 years now. And it really kind of shows that the very rule of law is just a word on a paper.
Just our legal framework.
Yeah.
Okay, a very important thing, I think we always need to accentuate this, is that we wouldn't know about how Europe and European countries are crushing their own order of law and their own systems with violating human rights. We wouldn't know this if there wasn't for activists and if it wasn't for investigative journalists. We wouldn't know for these stories. Since I see a lot of activists here who have contributed for this to be visible, I would really ask you to clap hands for the activists, for the investigative journalists, for people who have been criminalized for helping people obtain their human lives. Because really, without these people, we wouldn't be knowing what's happening on our borders, which is one more thing that shows how systematic this violence is. It's the legitimation of violence and human rights violation, and it cannot lead to nothing good. Not only did we have evidence, as you said, provided by, as I already said, activists and journalists. Not only do we know this is happening, but we have the European Court for Human Rights. How do I say it? Not judgment. It's a judgment that this is happening, that pushbacks are happening, that povreda. Violation the right to life is happening, that violation of forbidding torture is happening, that kolektivnog protjerivanja.
Collective expulsion.
Expulsion is happening. The right on security and freedom is violated, and that the right to request asylum is also violated. I'm talking about the family of Madina Husseini versus Croatia. We got the verdict.
Yeah.
Croatia, of course, showed no political responsibility. I'm sorry, I get emotional on this, so I lose. So no legal responsibility because they žalili.
Appealed. They appealed. Yeah.
To the judgment of the Court of Human Rights. Can you tell us more about that?
I mean, it's not shocking that
Just
they
sorry,
appealed.
for Madina Husseini, I believe you all know the story.
I can explain in short. Yeah, I can explain because maybe some of us don't know what happened. So we, in 2017, had a case of a pushback of Afghan family. It was actually a mother and her 6 children that actually ended with death of little Madina Husseini, who at the time was 6-year-old. So what happened that night is that mother with her 6 children came to Croatia and encountered police officers, and she asked for asylum. She expressed the intent to seek asylum as she is allowed under our laws and under international law. Instead of implementing our laws, the policemen told them, they took them first in the van, completely ignoring their intent to seek asylum, took them into a van, got them close to the border with Serbia, and ordered them to follow the railway back to Serbia. So pushed them back completely out of any legal framework, completely ignoring their human rights, their right to seek asylum in Croatia. They followed the railway, and soon after the train came and killed little Madina. She was just 6-year-old, and this was, of course, horrifying for her whole family. Half of her family was still in Serbia, and this is where their legal battle started. This is where our legal battle started as well. And the lawyer Bezbradica Jelavić, together with us and together with the support of Are You Serious as well, started this case. So this case also shows from the judgment that was published 3 months ago. So the thing is that before going to the European Court of Human Rights, we exhausted all the legal remedies that were available in Croatia. So the investigation didn't find anything problematic in this. And then it took 3 judgments of the Constitutional Court. 2 of them found no violation. 3rd one did find violation for later on. So also a bit of the context. So later on, Madina's family again came to Croatia after her death to seek asylum. And they were detained in this center for foreigners. Practically 13 children were in jail for doing nothing. And they were asking for asylum, and a lot of problems there. They weren't allowed to get in touch with their lawyer, and in the end, their asylum claim was rejected. So on that, the Constitutional Court found a violation for the violation of the right to seek asylum of Madina's family who later on came to Croatia. But for this night in 2017, when Madina died, Croatian domestic remedies did not find any violation. So it went to the European Court of Human Rights, which found 5 violations of human rights of Madina and her family. So as you mentioned already, it's quite actually unique decision. So on all 5, actually all 5 grounds, one ground, there was one judge finding no violation. But on all other 4 grounds, all judges were anonymous. Yeah. So the judgment found the violation of the right to life of Madina Husseini, the procedural part, because obviously it's not that the policeman had a gun, killed Madina, but firstly, okay, this wasn't found by the court, but the fact is that I would still be alive if the police officers did everything according to the law. But okay, the court found that the procedural limb of the Article 2 violation of her right to life was violated because there was no effective investigation into her death. As I mentioned, there are no effective investigations into any cases of pushbacks. So the court also found when it comes to investigation that the state attorney heavily relied on what the police said. So they took account on what the policemen said, although they changed their statements during the procedure. So during the investigation, they changed their statements, and this didn't ring a bell. While several details in the statements of the family were, taken, because there were details like the father said that he was in Croatia, but he wasn't actually in Croatia. It was only the mother that was in Croatia. So this was enough for the investigator to say that their statement is not valid and not vjerodostojno.
Practically that they're lying.
Yeah, that they're lying because this minor detail that didn't actually even affect the findings, the facts. So yeah, like the court found that the investigation wrongly relied solely on the statements of the policemen, and that statements of the policemen weren't in accord with the findings of the doctor that was a witness of the case. But they didn't find any violation. I mean, the investigation did not find any crimes. Also, so they found that the violation of the ill treatment, because the children were detained in this jail-like institution for excessive amount of time. So they were detained there for over, well, I don't know by heart, sorry.
The process didn't take 15 days.
2 months and 14 days detained without access to anything really in jail because they were like the justification of the Ministry of Interior was that they are trying to establish their identity. 2 months and a half for establishing identity. So the court didn't find this as a good justification to put children in jail for that. Regarding the detention, they also found the violation of liberty and security of the whole family, because the detention wasn't justified, and also regarding the expulsion, so the pushback, the court found that this was a collective expulsion of the family, and that this was a violation of the Protocol 4. And also very important, during this whole process of them seeking like a legal protection, while they were detained, the Ministry of Interior was denying access to their lawyer, Sanja Bezbradica, and to other NGOs like CPS as well. So anybody who would be capable of giving legal advice to the family. They were kept out. They didn't have any contact with their lawyer. Even after the European Court of Human Rights gave the interim measure. So the interim measure for the family, still the lawyer didn't have access to her clients, and not only that, but the authenticity of the power of attorney was being investigated in the attempt to intimidate the lawyer to stop with the proceedings. So Madina's case really shows this systematic nature, and this how everything is kind of orchestrated and designed in a way that it does deny people access to remedies, but also access to international protection. So yeah, like Madina's case really illustrates this. And sometimes the pushbacks are not being carried out solely in this kind of way, that it's completely out of the legal framework, in the mountains, in the woods, with buttons, and sometimes there's horrific cases where it's really followed by other crimes, such as rape, and they use electroshocks and police dogs. In the testimonies of victims of this violence, we can find really severe methods of torture of people. Yes. Exactly. I also wanted to mention that when talking about the systematic practice, that the CPT, so the how to say, kind of part of the Council of Europe that has these missions to go to countries that are part of the Council of Europe to investigate cases of torture, was in Croatia. In 2020, I think, yeah. And they carried out their mission, and then Croatia stopped the publication of this report.
For a year, right?
For a year. And it still wouldn't be out if the state secretary didn't breach the privacy of this whole process. And since she breached the process, then the Council of Europe had the right to publish it without the green light of the country.
When it comes to this process, there was also a difference between the working and final version.
That's different, I think. That's the different thing. This is border monitoring. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is international mission of the Council of Europe that comes to a country.
Exactly.
CTP.
I misunderstood.
Yeah,
but the CTP is also important because this situation with the final and the working version, you can say more about it, maybe shows how systematically, again, this whole thing is covered.
Border monitoring is a whole different story.
Yes, yes, yes.
But when it comes to CPT, I just wanted to highlight that actually, when it comes to investigations, the CPT had examined 2 cases that CPS, so Center for Peace Studies, we filed 10 criminal complaints regarding the pushbacks, and the CPT went to Bosnia to examine 2 of them, so to speak to the victims and to collect some forensic data, and they found that these cases cannot be easily dismissed because the still visible bruises and injuries are in line with the testimonies of the victims. In the meantime, one of these 2 was rejected because there's not enough evidence for continuation of investigation in Croatia. So it says a lot. And the fact that they didn't want this report out says a lot as well. And about the border monitoring. So that's whole another story where Croatia and the European Commission were saying that the border monitoring, so monitoring of what police does at our borders and in relation to migration, has been established and that it's been financed for years now. And in the end, it proved that this doesn't exist. And now the ombudsperson of the European Union is actually investigating the case because where did the money go?
We can only imagine.
So that, and then finally, okay, a year ago, they established this monitoring mechanism. The issue with the monitoring mechanism is that its construction, if I can say it like that, was not transparent at all. It was actually constructed in a way that the European Commission and the Ministry of Interior sat on the table and by the table, and the European Commission said, okay, we need somebody to monitor you. How do you want this to look like? And then the Ministry of Interior said, okay, I want these guys to monitor me, and I don't want them to have access to the places where we do violations. So what we have now is that Ministry of Interior chose who is going to be part of the monitoring mechanism. And in the official agreement, it says that if the monitors want to come to the green border, where 90% of what I was explaining happened, they need to announce this to the body that they are monitoring. So basically, this kind of shows that there are serious lacks in effectiveness, like from even just how it's constructed and architectured in a way that if I'm going to monitor somebody, so if there are, if I have information that on the green border, the police is beating people and pushing them back, I first need to call them to say, now I'm coming to see what you're doing. So what are we going to do with that, you know?
But it's even, I would say, not effective is being very polite. You know, it's not about not being effective. Let's call the things that they are. Actually, we have a legal framework that is only happening on paper. And what is happening in practice is legitimation of violence and violation of fundamental human rights. And the systematic coverage of this fact actually happening. I mean, we cannot call it any other way. We have actually too much evidence from medical, as you say, from reports, from actually the judgments on the European Court for Human Rights. And Croatia is, of course, not taking any responsibility, so isn't the European Union, because, of course, this is not happening isolated in Croatia. We have other countries, but we also have the blessings of the European Union and total lack of any integrated politics towards migration and asylum seeking. So that's the problem. And CMS has been asking for the resignation of Davor Božičević, the Ministry of Interior, and Terezia Graz, the State Secretary, because of all these problems and because of course, they're in charge of everything that is happening, and what is happening systematically, as Antonia said. But not only do we have a systematic punches on systematic attacks on fundamental human rights, asylum seekers and migrant people, we also have attacks on activists, on those who are trying to help those people and provide their basic human rights. You said something about Sanja, the attorney, and that she was actually intimidated with legal steps. But we also have a lot of situations where activists are being intimidated, where organizations, civil society organizations are being intimidated, threatened with legal steps, not even to talk about the threats coming from individuals and so on, but legal threats. And we actually had this case of basically criminalizing solidarity that happened to Dragan Umicevic, the volunteer of Are You Serious? Are we able to connect with him today? If Dan is on the link, we will talk to him. He may tell his story. I don't know if everyone of you knows. Dragan was actually, he had to, on the judgment of the, okay, he's not here, but we'll talk about it a little bit because it is very important. He was actually the one who was helping Medina Husseini family when they entered the Croatia on that night when little Madin, no, not on that night, before. Afterwards. Okay, sorry. Afterwards. And he was helping them in a legal way. He did nothing illegal. Although the police claims that some things that he did were illegal, they were not. And we actually have the evidence for that were also covered in a way I can say. And what happened with Dragan is that he was actually the one following the law in Croatia, and he got a verdict to the judgment of the Visoki Prekršajni Sud, High
Administrative Court.
In Zagreb.
Administrative, sorry.
Yes, court.
Misdemeanor.
He was actually found guilty and sentenced with 60,000 kunas, 1,300 kunas of court admission that he had to pay for being the only person in this story who was doing what is actually legal. So I'm really sorry that he isn't here to tell us his story today. Maybe you can tell us also a little bit more about the case itself from the legal perspective.
So what happened that night is that the Are You Serious, where Dragan is a volunteer, got a text that Madina's family, so Madina was already dead, and this was a couple of months after that pushback, that Madina's family is again in the territory of Croatia, so already in the territory of Croatia, and they wanted to make sure that it doesn't go the same way as it did a couple of months before. So that's why Dragan, who lived close, went to the border to actually monitor what will the police do. Okay, not to help them cross, how the verdict said, but the people, so Madina's family, was already in the territory of Croatia. Dragan never saw them that night. He came close to the border and he asked the policeman on the border, he said, okay, this is geolocation of Husini family. They're here, I don't know, few kilometers away on Croatian soil. This is the pin, you know how you say, you send the pin. And let's go there because they want to seek asylum. Dragan stayed there to make sure that the policemen will actually carry out this whole process that Barbara explained. So the policemen took them into the police station. They shared their intent to seek asylum. And Dragan went home. Nothing happened. Afterwards, he got like a penalty that he was like aiding the illegal crossing. The articulation actually of the verdict, first one and then the high court's one, that kind of that might not be in Croatia, and that by his action he was motivating them to come to Croatia. Nothing more to say.
Legal acrobatics.
I have nothing more to say.
Acrobatics.
Yeah.
The good news is that although a lot of this politics, let's be honest, is possible because of the public letting it go that way. People in Croatia often say, you know, they're crossing illegal, so what the police is doing, whether it's the worst violence ever, is okay. And this is a problem. But we also have a strong culture of solidarity as well. And Dragan's fee of 61,300 kunas was paid by people who still believe in solidarity and who believe that he did the right thing. And the money was actually brought in like 2 days or something. It was not even 2 days, it was express. So although we're talking about the legal frame here, etc., I think it's very important to show that in public, we have very negative trends that are making this politics possible, but we also have opportunities when we see how solidarity is actually strong and what we can actually accomplish with solidarity. Thank you. Is there any questions about the legal frame? About maybe something?
I would like to ask actually about in this case when actually someone is allowed to seek asylum, about the percentage. So the European level percentage from the asylum request, it is 40, for 2020, it was like 40.7% of the requests were granted, so were positive. In Croatia, for the same 2020, it was 2%. So why this like crazy difference? Do we have any kind of answer?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
I think it's because we're stopping people for seeking asylum. No, there is not that much asylum seeking.
No, the difference, yeah.
But I wondered from the legal perspective, because like what kind of rationale is given legally to decline like 98% of the requests, even those who are they managed to actually allowed to start.
It really depends on case to case basis, but yes, like the percentage is very low, and we have around 1,000 positive, so 1,000 international protections granted from, I don't know, from from since we have the law on asylum, so it's 14 that it I think entered into force. So yes, I mean it's difficult. It's more difficult to have asylum, to gain asylum or international protection in Croatia than in many other EU countries. But what is the reason? I would just speculate here, and I want to avoid that. Yeah,
Different reasons.
Yeah, it's different reasons. Yeah.
I mean, if I may continue on that, because Croatia is so restrictive, because the Croatian asylum system is so precarious and so long, people leave. And their requests got stopped, and we have a small percentage of approved asylum, because based on predictions from Ministry of Interior, 80-ish% of people leave before they got their first response. So they shared their intent, they officially asked them for international protection, became asylum seekers visible in the system as a number, but then left, and their requests got stopped. But in the statistics, it's still huge amount of requests, very small amount of approved protection. So that's also part of an issue here. We still are very restricted. It still is easier to get it somewhere else, and the rights that come with it are better, and yeah, social life conditions, material conditions, economic conditions, whatever, are better, and that's why people basically leave. So I think that, you know, a huge amount of an explanation, huge part of an explanation is there.
Yeah, but it's also, I will speculate, and you will give me the right answer, I hope, but it would also show that the legal framework is not being respected when we know the number of days that Croatia is supposed to give the answer on this request.
I mean, these 15 days, it's not the deadline in which you have to get a decision.
Yes,
it's the deadline from sharing the intent until the official procedure of asylum seeking has been established.
Yeah.
So it's not that we have to legally, that Croatia has to legally say in 15 days.
No, they get asylum, that's part of the process.
But so we have whomever gets the opportunity to ask, to seek for asylum,
Is
then
in this, okay.
he is in that statistics of asylum.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The deadline is like 9 months.
No, it can be prolonged. So the maximum with all prolongations is 21 months. But I know of many cases that last longer than that. Yeah.
I would like to know where you see the responsibility of more wealthy European countries, because I think these human rights violations that happen on the European external borders, usually it's also countries that are not that wealthy as countries in Europe. And do you think, countries like Germany or the UK could use their power to, like, I don't know, make more pressure or to offer help to countries that maybe that have a reason also to struggle with,
Well, here I see the responsibility of the Union as a whole. I really think that this is a problem. The violations of the human rights are a problem of the Union as a whole. And I don't think that there are countries that can handle the migration by themselves. And I think that a good policy from the European Union is the key in actually avoiding and preventing human rights violations. And this is still not happening. So
in 2015, we've seen that the common asylum system of the European Union is failing, and that it cannot really respond adequately to what's going on. And since then, the activists, NGOs, institutions have been calling out for the reform of the common asylum system. And last year, or now I'm mixing the dates, but the European Commission has proposed the new pact on migration and asylum. However, that pact it has some serious lacks as well. Not as well, but I think that it, in some ways, even like deepens the problems that we have now. And it introduces this motion of solidarity that is not really solidarity. So it's kind of like when you ask about the role of richer countries in the Union. The issue is that in the pact, solidarity is seen as a choice on whether you will like contribute to the asylum system with money to deport people back, or actually, you know, trying to implement asylum laws. So I don't see this.
Actually, killing solidarity.
I don't see this as real solidarity. Now I'm putting it very bluntly, okay? Now I'm maybe exaggerating a bit as well. But this is, I see this as a serious lack, because this solidarity in the pact is not seen as let's all act as a union, because we have altogether a lot of resources and a lot of like, a lot of capacity to actually altogether implement asylum laws as they're supposed to be implemented, as they're regulated on international level. And, you know, let's share the responsibility. Let's not put the responsibility for asylum on our external borders. Let's share the responsibility among all the states of the European Union. This didn't happen, and this is the key. So I see this as the main problem. And then second main problem is that still European Union is trying to externalize its asylum system, as I mentioned before. And in the pact, they're also like proposing opening this kind of centers at the borders where we would have like rapid asylum seeking procedures, where actually it would, I don't see that it would be, first it will be like detention of people at our borders, and it will be hotspots again. And secondly, it will not allow people to actually share all the reasons for international protection and have actually a valid and fair procedure. So yeah, on pact I could speak more, but I will stop here. I also wanted maybe to share another case of ours that is now at the European Court of Human Rights, that is a bit different from Kurd from the Turkey. So YK against Croatia. This is a bit different story, because the person was detained in the Center for Foreigners here in Ježevo, and he was like repeatedly and continuously saying that he wants to ask for asylum in Croatia. But this was completely ignored, not only when he was expressing his attempt to seek asylum, but also when his lawyer did that. The authorities said to the lawyer that
he cannot do this, that this is solely right of a person, which is not like that. Like the lawyer has the right to seek asylum for his client. And then also the ombudswoman came to from the office of the ombudsperson, people came to visit this Kurdish person, and he again shared his intent to seek asylum. And again, after the ombudswoman said, okay, we heard this, and this guy wants to seek asylum, again, this was ignored. And then the COVID-19 thing happened in Ježevo, so they were in quarantine, and lawyer wasn't allowed in, but wasn't even allowed to speak to his client during those 14 days. And afterwards was lied to by the authorities, who said, no, we are still in quarantine, although the lawyer knew that they are not in quarantine anymore. And when asked for new meeting with his client, he was told that the client was given the decision to leave Croatia voluntarily, and that he was released from the center. The same day, the family called us and said that the guy is in the end, what happened is that regardless of his attempt to seek asylum in Croatia, repeatedly, continuously, all the relevant authorities and through his lawyer, he was forcefully, with like using some kind of legal framework, he was given a decision to be forcefully removed from Croatia, and he was forcefully removed from Croatia. And now the case is at the European Court of Human Rights for, among other violations of torture, because pushing somebody, not pushing, but deporting somebody without assessment if the person is going to be tortured in a country where you're sending them. So against the non-refoulement principle is a violation. So it's torture in the sense. And denying him access to legal remedies as well, among other violations. So I'll stop here. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot.
This is very important, because these cases can tell us more about the legal system than anything else, and more than the cases, I think experiences. And we will hear one soon. I just wanted to comment as well on the. I think it's very important to say I agree that it has to be a response of European Union as whole. Cannot divide countries there. And why is this important? Not only that validation of human rights towards migrant people is a universal problem, but acting and not taking responsibility from the point of European Union is a huge problem for the European Union, because the international documents are actually the identity of European Union. We decided that this is going to be our identity, and we're actually crushing our identity by ourselves. And this will not only have repercussions to people seeking asylum, migrant people, refugees. This has repercussions on our rule of law, on our democracies, on our cultural identities, which I think this is the cancer of Europe. The way that Europe is treating and validating human rights, I think, is the cancer of Europe, eating us from the inside. I am being a little bit overreactive, maybe even dramatic, but I think if we look what is actually happening on our borders and be aware that people are actually dying and going through worst violence, then I think we are being less dramatic than we should about it. Please.
Just regarding this case,
And generally, when you go to the European Human Rights Court, the repercussions that come from such indictment is that the country needs to pay. But there is nothing on any personal level for each person that tried to stop him from contacting, like that's against the law, if I'm correct. And there, if we get this court decision, it's again like just generally the country and the system, but also nobody in the structure gets a personal like.
Because that is on domestic instances.
That should be on the, okay, that's.
Yeah,
but
the court has.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, the court
And
judges
Croatia
against their parties, yeah.
But when we talk about this, to take measures after the judgment is final. So we will see now, after this final judgment in Kusini family, what will be the measures. I don't know if there is a possibility for any effective measures. I suppose it is. But that's also this hypocrisy of the European Union as international subject, because also EU is since 2009 the party of the convention and all 27 members, and now we have this violation of convention in these borders. So I hope that maybe now we will have this Council of Europe and European Union, and then we will see who will be stronger. Maybe if these measures, you think that it's possible to get Croatia after these judgments, maybe.
It will need
That's the only hope.
implement. It will need to implement the judgment, and I mean the several stakeholders, among which the ombudswoman will be in charge of monitoring the implementation. But who knows what will happen? I mean, this is the first judgment against Croatia for pushbacks from the, well, in general actually, but from the European Court of Human Rights. But the European Court of Human Rights gave, as you probably know, several judgments against Hungary, against Greece, Italy, etc. Well, you know where we are. Yeah.
Just a comment from the because there was one against Croatia in case of Košić versus Croatia on the segregated Roma classes. So there was segregation in education in Međimurje. And it was, the decision was that Croatia violated their right to education and they needed to disband the segregated classes. So from that decision until now, the number of segregated classes actually doubled. So not only that it wasn't disbanded as it said in the verdict, it actually doubled. So this is just as an example of even when we have a verdict of European Court of Human Rights, we still don't have this system of actually caring for it.
Maybe just a quick one more. Regarding the framework of after we get the judgment from, and then Croatia should do something on the lower levels. Is there really a strict framework of the Europe checking are we doing that? And do you also think the producer of the Shadow Game movie said that the problems are great in Croatia, but it's been told it's again the illegal unofficial orders from the European Union on its own. Is that maybe the reason why they aren't very strict with us abiding by the court decision? Do you also feel like that?
Who is strict?
So
European Union.
Can European Union sanction us until we sanction people until we do not sanction people on the lower levels?
they can start infringement procedure, but at another court, at the European Union Court of Justice. They had several cases like that against Hungary, but they never started one with Croatia. Yeah.
Mohammed, everything that we are talking here about the legal system, the processes, and everything, you actually went through it from the first hand. So do you want to tell us more from your point of view and from your experience?
Yes, sure.
Oh.
I will start from Syria. I was 10 years old. We went to Turkey, and
Wherever you feel.
Može doći. I want to say, I was 10 years old. We went to Turkey first country because of the war. And it was really very difficult because everything, what I imagined in Syria, like, for example, I thought that Istanbul, like in film or series, because it was for me very surprised as I arrived in Turkey. I was working with 10 years old. And I want to share with you also something, what happened as I worked. I was working, I and my mother, in one company for the papuç, house shoe. Yeah. And there is came suddenly control, and we didn't know. The boss told me, I'll put you in the back, in some bag, so that the control don't see you. Because if he see me, then he want to pay so much money. And yes, that was for me very difficult because my mother, she couldn't speak anything, and in this time we should to pay for the rent, and that's why we haven't money for the rent. And my mother was just silent; she couldn't speak anything, and he put me in the back. So I was like 15 minutes like this in some bag, and for me very difficult. And yes, and then I didn't go went to school because unfortunately I should work. I was the older one in the house, in the home, and that's why my father, he couldn't work. And I should to take this big responsibility instead my father to take this. And after 6 years in Turkey, one telephone came, and from Croatian, I don't know, the IOM, he said, he talked with my mother, do you want to go to Croatian? My mother said, where's the Croatian? I don't know Croatian. Because I'll say something also Croatian on my mother language. It's the meaning, for example, like bad. We say always the hrana is bad, kroti, like this, when we don't like this hrana or the food. Then we say hrana kroti. We say also in Kurdish hrana, horan, just a little bit different. And yes, my mother thought that is like hrana. I don't know really, it was so. And then, yes, but my mother decided Croatian because she wanted that we come to Croatia so that we go to the school and that we have something, some future, because we couldn't have the future in Turkey. It was so difficult for us to went to school. I was with 10 years old, and my brother also, he worked with 10 years old. And if you want, I can show you also video, because my boss, he took video of us, and that's what, I don't know. And after this calling, after 2 months, we got the one paper, like interview in Ankara, and there was one woman from Croatia. She explained us what will we do in Croatian and like this, and she asked me, what will you do in Croatian? I said, I want to go to school. Then she replied, why school? You don't go to school in Turkey? I said, no, unfortunately, because I'm working. And she replied, I promise you, in 2 weeks you will go to school. In 2 weeks, only 2 weeks. I was so happy with with many things. Like I was very happy. I cannot explain how was I happy, because after 6 years I go to school. It's my dream in the world. And yes, after 2 months we got the visa and we came to Croatia. Everything was good. Was everything okay? After we arrived to Croatia, unfortunately, everything was like a surprise. Nothing was the same in the interview. And yes, 10 months in Croatia with fighting. Fighting to go to school. Unfortunately, no. It was always disappointed. And even I even went to school in Velika Gorica for 2 months, but unfortunately, after 2 months, my teacher said, in the school, you are just like a guest or routine in our school, and you cannot come, or like this. Then my mother decided that I went to Croatia, to Germany, because here we don't have a future. Also, I think one of you said that the people got the asylum very long, and even when they get the asylum very, for example, very fast, they leave also Croatian because they cannot find the future here. Problem, from Turkey they bring the people here, but unfortunately, nothing, because yeah.
No integration, you meaning no learning language?
Yes,
school,
I mean this. Exactly. That's the point that I mean. And yes, after 2 months, after the slaying in the teacher, my mother said, we want to Germany, and we will try to looking for the asylum there. And then, unfortunately, in Germany, I lived in Germany like 1.5 years, and there I went to school, to 9th class. I did everything, learned the language very faster, but unfortunately, in the same day that I had the exam, they deported only me to Croatia, because I have here asylum. My stayed in Germany, just I'm here. And yes, also even I got my Ausbildung contract. Oh, what does mean Ausbildung? But unfortunately, it was very, very late, and that's when. That's my story. I know my English is very bad, but yes, I try.
It's very good.
How
How many languages? How many languages? Okay, just to make, from a legal point of view, since we have to make this legal, why deported to Croatia from Germany and his family stayed in Germany? Mother, father, and how many brothers?
I have just 2 brothers with me, 3. I don't have a sister.
Brothers.
Yeah.
My sister is there.
So, complete. Maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But the issue was that we have that is called Dublin regulation. Dublin regulation says that a person will be returned to a EU member state where they first share their intent to seek asylum or where they got asylum. This is why for the whole family, Germany decided that they will take Mohammed's whole family back to Croatia. But when this decision was being implemented, when the police actually came to your doorstep, your brother wasn't there, right?
Yes,
Correct
he
me if I'm
wasn't
wrong.
there.
Okay.
He is 16 years. He was 16 years old. That's why they tried to deport me only one because I have 19. I'm 19 years old.
Yeah. So what happened is that his brother, who is a minor, wasn't there. So the police couldn't deport his mother and father because the minor they would deport them without their minor child, but Muhammad was officially of age, so they took only him from his family and implemented the Dublin against him solely and took him back to Croatia.
So you're back with us.
Yeah.
How has it been for you?
It was very difficult because I was on the street. I haven't any family here. And yes, I couldn't. As I arrived in Croatia, I went to the police in the airport. I asked him, where can I go? Where can I stay and live? Sleep. He said, you can go to Velika Gorica, but Velika Gorica was before 2-3 years the address, and that's why I couldn't go to there. And he said it's not my job. You can go anywhere and find any place. And that's why I was very despaired at this time, and I couldn't imagine anything. My mother, she contacted Ana Maria. Ana Maria called me. She asked me, Muhammad, are you in Croatia? I said, I wanted to say no because I was trying. I was trying really because I don't know. I can't explain more. And then I said, yes, I'm Croatian, unfortunately. Then she sent to me taxi bolt, in 15 minutes he arrived, and then yes. At this day I was on the street because nobody helped me. Only she helped me. Yes, and yeah, and after these days. My teacher called me from Germany. She asked me, hey, Muhammad, where are you? Why are you not coming to school? Yesterday was your exam. And this week gonna be your exam also for the Schulabschluss. I don't know. It's the last exam, and you have to come to school. replied, unfortunately, I am in school. She couldn't believe that. I replied, I am in Croatian. And she couldn't to believe that. She said, where you know? I'll try to help you. Her husband is from Yugoslavia, and yeah, and yes, he has here many friends. And in 10 minutes, he sent me one friend to Anna Maria place from Are You Serious? And then he came to talk me to one hostel, and they paid for everything for 2 weeks. My hostel. And then, yes, in Germany, they tried to collect the money from the school, and also to do like petition, yes. And yes, that the people signed that I can go to Germany back, because in the same day my contract arrived. I didn't know at 2 o'clock, as I arrived in Croatia, my social called me. She said, Mohammed, now is your contract is informed me. And that was so. And yes. And they in school in German, they try to help me, and still they help me. And every 1 month, one teacher come to Croatia, and they visit me here. Also, they visit the Are You Serious organization. And yes, they try to support me with anything, or yes, with money, with everything. And that's it.
And then was it Mohammed? When did you arrive back to Croatia? So for how long are you here now?
I'm 8 months. Yeah.
Is your family still facing deportation, or?
No, my family still. Yes, my family still in Germany, and.
Can they still be deported?
And yes, because they don't know really. They don't have any idea, and yes, they can anytime to deport it here.
Police can come
Yeah.
like they did when they deported you.
But my lawyer now tried again, and also he got the contract for the Ausbildung the same. I am very, very worried about him, because I don't want to that he lived the same story like me, and it, for me was very, very, very difficult, because but also another time I think it's okay, because I'm older, 19 years old, and I can live. But my brother, he cannot without my family or the another, and that's yeah. For me was the first 2 months really very, very bad, very, very difficult, because I couldn't live without my family. That's my first time that I live very far away from my family. Yeah.
Is it a bit better now?
Now it is okay. Now I have many friends here. I'm not alone. Yeah.
Not only do you have many friends here, but you have also been very creative.
Yes, I try to express myself in my paintings, because every paintings, every picture that you see, they have a story, and yes, they are not fake. They are in my story, I can say it, because what I live, I see in my eyes, in front of you, behind you. Yes, they are behind.
Well, if I may say, I think you're very talented, and for the sake of art, I think it's brilliant that you put everything that you went through on the paper. But
and the sake of your own well-being, I hope that one day we will just see pictures of flowers and sun and green grass from you.
I hope to that, but I cannot because I always to, for example, to do something that I achieve a message to people. For example, that they see themselves in my paintings. I sent one picture of my paintings to my teacher. She was crying. She said, "Can I see myself in this painting?" I said, "Yes, please. It's you are." Yeah.
That's what artists do.
Yeah.
So now I invite you, everyone, to look at the exhibition, to see this amazing, amazing works of art that are also pieces of life. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We can have a break and you can talk with Mohammed and watch the exhibitions, have a coffee, a tea, and the theater will then prepare themselves. And then we are back. Okay. So,
Ja mogu nešto kažem, uvodno.
Pa, bilo bi lijepo.
Okay, so the second part of our, I don't know, meeting and mingling today is theater of oppression. Something like that. Oppressed. Sorry, I'm tired, okay? Sorry. I don't know what to say. Anything. I don't need to say anything.
You don't need
just
to say anything. Just that you know that we have the space and
you
the
have
floor
the space.
And thank you.
Action.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josipa. I will be your joker today, which is a role in the theater of the oppressed. So the ones who are oppressed. And this is the idea of Theo to facilitate this session today. So I will say a few words about Theo, for those of you who don't know about it, and a few words of introduction to the play. After that, you will see the play, the way we performed it, the way we imagined it and created it. After that, you will have the opportunity, if you feel like it. So no one is. I know when Eva said interactive theater, people were like, so no one is going to come out in the audience to take you out. Don't have to worry about that. But if you want, and if you have the idea of some kind of input, of some kind of intervention, you will be more than welcome to do it. I will explain everything in time. So just that you know this is generally the idea. So theater of the oppressed is Theater of the Oppressed is an umbrella term that encompasses several different theater techniques, methodologies, that are all based in one idea, that everyone has the right to express themselves through theater, and everyone has the right and the opportunity to use theater as a way to talk about themselves, ourselves, about that oppressions that we face, to use theater as a way to analyze those oppressions and to talk about them with the community. And through this, we are invited, everyone is invited as the audience to try to think about possible strategies to start to think about solutions. So it is not like, okay, they're going to find solutions here. We know that this is the problems are complex. This idea of a savior that will come and solve the problems for everyone, we know is problematic, to say at least. But what we feel we can, and what we feel in a way that we must do, is to start coming together, start to think together from our different perspectives, from our own social positions, and to start working together to find strategies to change the unjust society that we feel that we live in. So this is generally about what TO is and what you're going to see here. More specifically about our play and about our pocket, which is organization, platform, collective, a lot of things. But we are also part of Zagreb Sanctuary City Initiative and from the Seed to the City network, which is trying to find a way to have a discussion with local authorities, so with municipal administrations, in order to push for more progressive legislation on the city level. And this is also something that from Zagreb Sanctuary City we want to do, as we are trying to envision a city that can be a safe harbor, a safe place for everyone, regardless of their administrative status. So it is not about, or not only about asylum seekers and people who are granted asylums. It's about migrant workers as well. It's about students who are third national students. It's about people who are who have the citizenships and so on. So this is the idea of trying to find a way to think about it together, collectively, and specific presentation or specific play you're going to see. It concerns some concrete aspects that migrant workers and students face in Croatia. So these are specific legal issues, and we chose to work on them through something that is called legislative theater. So this is also fits well into the frame of this roundtable as well, which is focused on legal questions. Because legislative theater is one of those methodologies that are part of the TO that tries to use theater as a way of bottom-up creation of new policies. And as a way to start from the problems, start from somewhere that something people are facing in the society, and to try to, again, as a community, to find a way to think about possible solutions on the level of policies. So the invitation will be, and I will actually give out, so everyone just take one piece of paper and then give out the rest. That if you come up with something while watching the play, and if you need the pencils, the same thing. Yes. If you have your own, that's great. If not, we have you, hopefully. Just take. Yeah. So something, you have some kind of idea what could be done. You can also write it down and give it back to us at the end of the performance. Just so you have it with you. And you know you can use it for yourself at any point during the performance. This would be, we played already this particular play. We played it in the context, we asked the community to think about what specifically city administration could do. And we actually sent out those suggestions. We sent it out to the city administration, and they actually already accepted a few of them into the action plan. And they said they're going to work on trying to find a way to also incorporate a few more. So this is a nice thing. Hopefully, we'll see if it works. I'm always pessimistic. But it's still better than we got some kind of answer, definitely. Here, I could also ask you, because this is also part of an international project, and which is on the EU level, as Croatia is the part of EU, I would also invite you to maybe think on the national level and the level actually of EU policies, because also I know some of you are working closely in organizations who are doing advocacy work on the national and on EU level. So maybe this kind of ideas might be helpful for you to advocate for as a process of bottom-up creation of policies, of trying to find a way to think about what kind of society we want to live in from bottom up, not from top down. Okay, so this was just to have a general idea of what will happen, and I need you back. Our main actress, please return to the stage.
Let's go.
As this is community theater in the best possible way, and as we had a really challenging morning, I would say, with the stories and this kind of data and heavy morning. The idea is to maybe reconnect, to warm up a little bit for us as well as for you, to come into different modality of working on the maybe similar topics, but in a different way. So I would invite you to do a small rhythm with us. And this rhythm is, Maya suggested this as we always play one small warm-up game with the audience before we start. But this specific one was Maya suggested because it's called Rhythm of Hope. And this is something that was really, for us, important when we were working. We actually started every rehearsal with this Rhythm of Hope. And so maybe just to have it as a way of us to, Rhythm of Hope. So I will first show the whole rhythm, and then I will just break it down so we can do it together. So the whole rhythm, if you can do it with me, goes. Okay, so this is it. This is the rhythm. So it has two models, and it goes 1, 1, 2, 1. Yeah. So the first two are the same. The third is different, and then the fourth is the same. So model 1 is so all together, just this. Okay, so this is model 1, and model 2 only has a little bit extra. So it's. So this is the model 2, and goes 1, 1, 2, 1. Can we try it together? Yeah. You can maybe even get up if you feel comfortable sitting down. That's also okay. Maybe go up and try to do it. It's also fine. However you're comfortable. Okay, so let's start. Pause. So number 2. Again, now we're going to say every time we clap, you're going to say hey. Okay? So on each clap, we also say hey. Hey. Thank you so much. I invite you to start our play, start in your position. Remember to speak up, also for the mic, but also for people in the audience to catch. And we're going to give them a little bit of intro, just to for them to know when to start. It goes like this again, a little bit of clapping. Be careful with your thighs. I will show you first, and then we'll do it together. So, akcja. Okay? Can we do it together? Akcja. Hey girl, how are you?
Hey, you're fine, you?
I'm okay. Do you have time for coffee maybe after class or whatever? Do you have plan?
I don't know.
Look, we already have something, with people who you don't know, and it's, new people in the crew. It's
Okay.
Maybe next time, but
No, let me know so we can hang out and get to know each other.
we call it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Hey guys.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
Hi,
What's up?
How are you?
I'm okay. What about the project? When are we going to start? I was waiting for you so we can start our business and.
Project. It was 1 year ago. Come on.
Sorry, you know how it is with the deadlines, like when you want to apply with, like this sort of thing. It,
Guys,
like,
we agreed that we start the business together. So
yeah, it was really
also have
hectic. I'm
something
sorry,
going
I'm sorry.
on.
It was really.
It is a business. It cannot wait.
I
It's
get
not
it,
like,
but,
I will
I was
wait.
waiting for you to send me a message or call
No,
me or something.
you should call us. No?
No,
If you were really interested, I mean.
I was.
I was going to
We
call you.
went to this-
No, really, I was
Yeah.
going to call you, but you know how hectic it is with all the debt. Like trying to start a business in this economy, like it's really screwed up.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it with you. So you are from
Yeah.
here, I'm foreigner. That's can
Yeah.
also make things easier for me. And
Maybe you can find
You'll
someone
manage, you'll
else
manage.
who is starting
I'm okay.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
done.
good luck with your project.
Yeah,
guys.
See you as well.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Hi,
later.
bye.
Bye. What's up?
Guys, I have this situation with my health insurance. I don't have it.
Oh, yeah,
And
that-
also
that's
my
fucked up.
process with my stay in Croatia is kind of. I really need help. Is there anyone who can help me or anything? You guys work with some organization.
Look, I have to go. Pick up my kid, but I'll talk to you. We'll manage something, okay? Joshua.
I'm okay.
You know what? I am kind of born and raised here, and it's so complicated for me. I cannot understand this shit for myself. So I would like to help you, but being a foreigner, it's even more, I'm
This is
sorry,
why I need
really.
some help, I'm trying for months.
Look, I have a Zoom meeting now, like for 5 minutes. I really don't have time now. And anyway, we don't have capacity in organization. It's a project, money, and things like that. We don't have this, call CMS or something like that.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm really sorry. Me, I'm like you are, but I don't know how to help you. I'm so sorry. Maybe someone else is going to find an answer. I'm so sorry. Law.
Law.
Good morning. I just came to check how my process with permanence going because I'm waiting for years now. I mean, I apply, I give everything needed for this.
Okay, Miss
Salamiat, yes.
Look. Here in the system, look, here and in the system, I see you don't have, you see this, a paycheck list from the bank, eh? And when I checked this also, I saw you don't have health insurance.
Okay, just a second. So, I took this paper from your colleague upstairs, so they said I can bring 6 months paid leave check or just the paper from my bank account. This is what I did. Because I don't have, I just started the job, it's a new job, I don't have 6 months.
Not my
This is my
problem.
first
It's not my problem. My job
I get it,
is to check the documents. You don't have a full documentation. I cannot do nothing.
And regard this health insurance, I already give the paper also, but I cannot renew it because I don't have the ID. I'm waiting for you to give me the ID. So it's like 1 year already.
It's in the law. It's in the law. I cannot do anything for you, miss.
So you can be late. You didn't give me the paper in time.
I don't have time for every kind of this situation. Law is the law. Law.
Law here, law there, every day, everywhere you go, they will just study the law. My gosh, I'm tired of it. Man! So now comes, this is all we had from our side. So everything that happens from now on will depend on also on you. So first the question would be like, did you understand? Like what is going on? Have you recognized this kind of situation? Is it something that is familiar? Can maybe someone like share if something is familiar to you? Are there any specifics maybe that you didn't catch? Like what was going on exactly? Maybe we can go through do the images of each phase just to remind ourselves. So this is the first situation. So this is the first situation. Where was this taking place? Do you remember?
School.
Before
school.
School, before class, yeah, and what was happening?
She wants to hang out with them. And they said, no, we have other friends.
Okay.
something
Is
like
this
that.
familiar in sense of what happens? Okay, so the second, what was going on here? Who are they to each other?
Potential business partner.
Potential business partners, and what happened here?
They rejected.
Okay. So they wanted to do something together. They did decide. They agreed to do something together, but they did it without her. Okay. Now there are new characters who are there now. She's always the same, but the other characters change.
Kind of a party or hanging out, something like that. She had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone had something different to do. He was picking they need to pick up the kids. She was mourning. She had to work, and she didn't know how to help. So also rejected.
Mm-hmm.
My help.
Okay. Did you recognize something else here? Also, did you hear?
In the beginning, everything is cool. Like, hey, now she is accepted, kind of. While we are dancing, while everything is good. But the moment that the problem arises, everybody has something to deal with that's more of a priority, or than dealing with the situation there.
Okay. Also, like a specific context, maybe? Are they just a group of friends, or have you recognized the specific context, more specific context?
She was the organization, right?
Mm.
Like somebody from the organization. Then,
Yes.
this I don't know.
Yeah, basically.
From an organization. Were they all an organization?
That was like
They're like vibing together, but they are some kind of an organization that should help.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe this is also for us to make it even more clear the
Yeah.
next time we're playing. Yeah. So this is the idea. There's like some kind of different organization. Yeah, it's okay. It's a kind of party, but this party could be a lot of things. Could be nice cultural projects. Could be, like exhibitions or like things like that, or actual parties. But the question is what happens with when like how the actual situation happens. Okay, so this is like maybe the first part of this, and in the second part we had something. What did we have here? Bureaucracy. Okay. Did you get the exact?
It seemed like foreigner's office or something, and you have to hand in all your documents for them to accept you, but then they say no, this document is still missing, even though you think you've handed everything, they don't know their own rules, and you've actually read the rules and say like, no, I can't do this, like, no, I've never heard of this.
Or the regulation says that the paper that you're missing is the paper that you cannot possibly have, because in order to have that paper, you would need to do something else beforehand, but you couldn't do that because that.
You need their paper to get the paper they want you to give you.
Exactly. And this was exactly what is happening a lot. So it has like concretely, this is exactly concretely, it's the question of permanent stay and the question of health insurance, and how when the administration is late, and they are late, then you can't renew also your health insurance, which you are legally asked for, like to have, but you can't do it because you don't have ID, and you don't have ID because they were late, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do other three characters in that scene have a specific, because he came in with the begging?
You can ask them.
Your characters also had a specific story?
Yeah,
Concerning
yeah, I
something
have quite a
else?
specific story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was like the 7th time they told me my health insurance would automatically switch to this new model because in between jobs, and it happens like all the time. People say, oh, it will just automatically change to unemployed or something, But the law keeps changing also, so I'm not sure. And I was like, just please, okay, can you just do that manually for me, because they send you have to send an email, you have to, will you examine my case, please?
But basically, this the idea is they're also again new characters, and they also have certain struggle with bureaucracy. I think it's also something that is familiar to most of us.
I just asked, given that the scene was set up, that the three of you asked or expressed your issues, but passed through. So were your problems solved, and the last character was the only one who couldn't get past the bureaucracy, or your problems weren't solved at all? You just passed through without a solution?
Nobody got.
I got cancelled.
That's why we're all mad and sad here, like sitting in front of you, showing that we are all still frustrated. But then
And this is maybe also the idea that this is also happening, that she's not alone. So this is not just about her character. This is something that goes on systematically, actually. It goes on in the sense
Because I thought, because I'm guessing that, we have also a situation in our system that's pretty often that when a certain person asks, pretty please, then based on who is asking, things do get solved.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked, were maybe your problems solved when you showed your frustration and asked for help. That was where I was going with my question.
But then I would feel sad.
Sorry, but this, Eva, what you said, is one of the things that maybe we can try out. So now comes the second part of our game. This is where, if you have an idea already now, if you have some kind of idea, what could you do to try to start solving this kind of situation? Maybe we can try it out. So you said there are some people who, when they get there, they get the problem solved. Do you have any idea who might that be, or how to get to those
If you
people?
have connections, if you have the right person who calls for you, picks up the phone and asks pretty nicely, please do this for my friend or for my good colleague or for my family member, and then things get solved.
Okay, so is this something that we can try to do for our Janine? Was it Janine?
Yeah.
Our main character?
With me? Or?
Do you want to see it played out? Do you want to see it played out?
I do want to see it played out.
You don't want to see it played out?
I do.
Yes, good. Then we'll meet you. So come here, and then we will. So my question would be, first of all, if you have some kind of, if you're this person who has this kind of connections, or do you know a person who has connections?
Are you asking me, am I the person with the connections? I'm not.
Could you be the person who could find someone with the connections to help her deal with the situation?
Okay, so I'm the person who is picking the phone and asking for.
If so, this is my question. Well, how would you proceed? So this is the situation. You know her, she's a friend or someone, and she has this problem. And then you said, okay, but this could be solved by someone. How would you proceed? Okay. We can see them. So this is what you're going to see. So maybe we can start just with two of you. Having just not a million, just to have a small conversation with you. You stay there. You're in the scene. You can come up a little bit more, Tanya. And then, while Eva is thinking what she's going to do, we're going to give her as well. Wait. We're going to do the.
do you want to do something first in private and then we talk to
No,
Okay.
This is called intro.
Louder,
Who's
please.
going to call
Yes.
or go with me or you want
I'm
to come
going with you to the office
Okay.
and trying to help.
Okay.
So can you explain me your problem again?
So the situation is that I applied for my permanent stay 1 year ago. So I bring everything they needed for me. Yeah. But now they are late and my ID is not valid anymore.
It already expired?
Yeah, expired, so I cannot activate my insurance, I cannot do anything. And I cannot use my passport here. So every time I need to do those things, I need to have my ID because I need those dates. So this is the situation. Now I need to go there and check what they're doing and how long should I wait again for my paper to.
Okay. But you need your new ID basically.
I need my new ID.
Okay. So shall we go together?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Madame.
Hi. So I came back again. This is my friend.
Iva, drago mi je. Naočale su vam. Ja sam gledala iste.
So I came again to see what's the process with my permanent stay and if you guys are missing something. I think I already give everything you needed for me. So yeah.
Imamo mali problem, prilično je komplicirano, pa ako biste nam vi, if you could help us in any possible way.
You don't have this paycheck list from the bank, you need to have this. And also you don't have health insurance. Yeah, but you know, from when I applied, I was working, so I gave those 6 months, and now I don't have any job. I just started a new job, so
Ne može imati ovaj papir, znate ovaj koji treba onaj.
So I bring this paper from my bank account to see how much I have there. So that's what the law actually says, whether you can bring 6 months or.
Znate ima onaj stavak u kojem su dvije su opcije. There are two options, you know. So it's either this or this, but this is also okay. This is also according to the law. So maybe if you could, you know, just maybe, because we gave this one, and that's also okay, because there are two options, and they are all in the law, really. So, and your glasses are absolutely.
Let me call my colleague. Čuj ti, tu su mi neka strankinja i ne znam, neka njena friendica, prijateljica, nešto mi se tu sa zakonom prijatelja. Možeš ti, molim te, doći dolje, ja ne znam to čitat. Oni meni tu nešto pokazuju, ja ništa ne. Okay. Čujte, kolegica pravnica, ne?
Je na pauzi.
No, like the colleague that is a lawyer for this, she's not working today. Yeah, she's not. And you can maybe try for 2-3 days. I don't know.
Oh, days. Okay.
I need to go because my pauza. I'm sorry. Okay,
So we come back.
Yes.
Okay, be back tomorrow.
Maybe
okay?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you so much. So what did you see? What did Eva try to do? And was she successful?
This was amazing. I was thinking the same thing. Okay, she's foreign. She doesn't know maybe how to act with our bureaucracy because our bureaucracy is this little lady. And that's exactly how you need to do it. Like this, and like thinking your eyes and giving her compliments because maybe that's the way she's gonna react. So yes, as a local people, we know how to access to our bureaucracy,
Some
our
of us.
lady bureaucracy. Yeah, so this was a really good example.
I mean, yes, but it's frustrating that
We have to do it
that
like
even
that.
we or anybody has to do it. You know,
Mhm.
that we are ever in a position to deal with the bureaucratic things and with things that are actually black on white in the law. That anybody has to make compliments or ask pretty nicely or explain the law or bring presents or mito. I mean, just to get things done.
Also want to just add something. This is actually what I'm going through, which is the true story mine. And I applied for my resident permit, stay permanent, 2 years ago, 3 now, I think, 3 years. And I still don't get it. Every time I go there alone, this lady in charge was like, "Nemoy to Dutch. Okay, don't come anymore, don't come in the office. If I have any new information for you, I will call you or I will text you," something like that. But I was like, just that feeling of going back and check, are you missing something? Is there anything I should add? Or, I don't know, any paper? Oh, no, you don't need anything. We don't need anything for now. Just go, I will call you back. She was like rude and everything. And one day I was there, I went there with one of my friends, actually, it was okay, I don't have any news for you. Don't worry, everything. This time she was like nice. I was like,
because you had the support.
Yeah, I was like, are you serious? Really, are you playing with me? So I was like, strange. She acts differently. When I'm alone, she's like, I don't have any time for you. And don't come anymore, don't call, don't text. And this friend of mine used to tell me, okay, just take it easy. Don't go often to the office or ask a question. Why not? She's the one who can accelerate your situation or even stop it from okay, so we just to play like whether you stop, shut your mouth and just wait and not do anything, or if you don't have any news, you don't have any paper, you can't do anything, like I explained, like you have to activate this, do this and that, you need that ID for it. So, yeah.
So, we saw that maybe this, unfortunately, could be something that maybe starts a little bit, something helps a little bit, so this kind of support. And maybe this is something that we can think from our, is it something that we can do, that we can be this kind of support, who knows how to do these things. So if maybe this is a small thing that we can just to realize that, okay, so maybe I have this kind of privilege of knowing the language or knowing the local customs, so knowing things that could help in this kind of situation. Thinking further is this kind of situation happens actually systematically. And we are also trying to think on different levels. So we are trying to find what we can do, like little things that can help a little bit, like what Eva done now. But we can also think about what could we do maybe on a more systematic level. What can we do maybe together? And I would actually invite you to take 10 minutes maybe in 2 groups, like both sides, just to come together and to maybe discuss, to try to think, is there something that comes to your mind as a group that you could try out here collectively maybe? Or is there something that you feel like is a good idea that you can advocate for? So just to have a little bit of time to maybe go again to discuss in group now what you've seen, and to see if you come up with some ideas to try to also give some kind of strategies. Okay, so like just come together in those two groups, and you'll have like 10 minutes, and I will invite you about all. Okay. Okay. Come back with your attention. With your attention. Okay, so let's hear it. So by like each group can share in like few sentences what was the main points of your discussions if you want to share, and do you have any kind of suggestion that you want to try out? Okay, so you can start maybe.
Okay, so we were thinking how to fight the Croatian bureaucracy. That's really not an easy fight. Well, certainly there are many issues that are not really in our in our control. So we came to some suggestions. We don't know if it would work.
This is why we just a small intermezzo, just to say to everyone, the idea of theater di oppressive is exactly what Antonio just said. We have some ideas, but we don't know if they would work, and so we don't really have. It's maybe not prudent or it's not smart to try them out if we really it could make things worse or whatever. But here we have a safe space. Rehearsal space to try out the ideas that we had, to see maybe if we can try them out here, to see how we can come to them and what would happen in a way. So this is just what Augusto Wow, who created the whole, who started the creation of this, was calling it a rehearsal for revolution. So the rehearsal. And this is why we do it. So this is a good thing. If you have some ideas that you don't know if they would work out, this is the perfect place to try them out. Continue, sorry.
We kind of had like, all of our suggestions are on the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one would be like education of the officers working in MOOP.
Okay, can we try to even like, let's say, who would, just to ask a few questions on this situation, because I think this is one we can try at least somehow to rehearse. So first, who would do that kind of education? Who do you think would be qualified to lead that kind of education?
Legal experts.
Can I?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure Antonia knows that some sort of education,
Yeah.
just like that, is just underway. HPC, so Croatian
Mhm.
Law Center, is the one who is doing the education, and it's called, the project is called Include, and it's about intersectional cooperation for empowerment of people under international protection, I think, right? Okay, so I went there for the first part, and I will go on the second part, and nobody from MOOC was there. Or, okay, maybe I'm lying now, maybe one person, but what I know for sure is that nobody from like the health insurance part of the situation came, and then everybody said, oh, okay, but you know, it's Corona, so they are really saving people's lives, and they cannot come to education now. But you know, this is not really the first education that's been going on, and simply they don't come.
Okay.
So I'm all for education, but I think that I know I know the people who can help that education. But how to get people to go to education?
Make it obligatory.
Yeah, make it obligatory. Their bosses.
But so this is what I wanted to say. Maybe this is something that we can rehearse. Like maybe we can find a way to see what kind of we can try to convince our Shalterusha here to come to go to the education and to see what do we need to do that. So this is the idea also for Theo. If you have an idea that requires some steps in between, let's work it back to see what those steps are and break it out into smaller things that we can try out to see. So if the problem is motivation, let's see what can motivate her maybe. Okay, so this is one idea we can have. Okay. We'll see. Okay, so this is one idea. We can try this out. So you said you had some others as well as a group.
Well, actually, two others are in terms of advocacy for legislative change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe we took it a step further than the.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is also legislative theater, so this is what we want as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it came to my mind from this situation that people find themselves in this kind of situation, not just foreigners, also Croatian citizens, but for the foreigners the situation is more difficult because they can get deported, they have rights that depend on their permit to stay. So my rights as a Croatian citizen here don't depend on whether I have a stay in Croatia or not, but for foreigners it's like that. So they tend to fall in this limbo when they are applying for another stay and then they get rejected, and then until the decision upon the appeal is being reached, they're in this limbo where they can be in Croatia because they are on the appeal, but they don't have any rights. So it's a terrible situation. So maybe advocating for the prolongation of all of their rights until the decision on the appeal would be something to advocate for in terms of law. And then second thing would be to set short deadlines for the decisions upon the appeal.
That's right. I just said it. I mean, there are always the deadline for us to apply, to bring paper, whatever. If you don't respect those deadlines, you pay, I don't know, amount of money. But from there, they can take time. They can sit down and think tomorrow, today they will come. Should we maybe work on one application, next day maybe one, maybe not, we see, depending how long we talk with friend or colleague in the office, and the time just go on, and at the end of the day you find yourself without any document.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, question for everyone here. If you think this kind of advocacy for this change, and we kind of, I sense, agree that those two things would be good ones, whatever, English is weird. Then how can we go about it? Who is the one who should do it? How can we organize to do that? So this is like, how are those things done? Like, how can we get, who can we ask? Because I remember talking to Chandel like a year back, and she was like, 2 years, but it was like, okay, okay, tell me this Croatia, like, who is making the decisions? Like, who is making the law? I said, well, okay, so we have like, trodilna podjela vlasti, kako se god zove. Kao, so we have Sabor, it's like, okay, I'll go to Sabor and go to and this is like, what can we do? Like, how can we get those suggestions to the people who are policymakers?
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to add something about what you said regarding Sabor and stuff at Parliament. I found myself in the situation where I was almost deported. I have to leave my house After living in Croatia, working in Croatia for more than 5 years, and Corona came, I lost the job, I couldn't find a new job, you know. For us, you have to go through this work permit process in order to renew, because you are in Croatia, because you're working. If you don't have anything, then it doesn't exist. You have to go out or whatever, do whatever you want to do, but just leave the country. So I lost the job, and I couldn't find anything. My application before Corona, I applied for permanent stay, but like we said before, I apply on time, but the answer and whatever from there, you have to wait more than 1 year. And I couldn't do anything else. They called me at one day that, okay, we have an answer for you, you can come. I was so excited, maybe I have my permanent or something. I get there, she was like, sign here. Okay, I will never sign any paper anymore, because I was so excited, I didn't read anything. I signed, and then so, okay, your stay was rejected, you have 30 days to leave the country, and something like that. I was like, are you serious? You called me and say you have something for me. Yeah, but I called, but I didn't say that it was positive, you know. I was also before fighting for health insurance situation, and I have to write the letter to the president of Zagreb. Of course, I don't know if the guy read the letter or something, but I did it anyway, because I think this is also the whole idea of doing this. I cannot just fight or try to find a solution for me. Yeah, I can go with somebody who can help me, and okay, problem solved for today. What about tomorrow? What about somebody else? Because I'm not the only one who's going through that. So I try to call them. I contact them. They again send me the email like, okay, zakon za strance. Everywhere you go, it's always the law zakon za strance. So I'm like, anytime I go to the this office, whether it's MOOC or whatever, I always take time to read those zakon za strance in case. I know somebody will tell me zakon. I'm telling you. Somebody will say zakon za strance, so I will just prepare myself to read those zakon, and then when you say something, I know what to say. Like this lady, the one who told me, oh, Morash paycheck platinum list, bring them, and so in this paper on shelter, they wrote this 6 months paycheck, or you just bring the paper from your bank account that you have something to support yourself or money something. So she said, Tindemash platinum list, okay. Before going that office, I take my time to go upstairs to take this paper. So I show the lady. So what are you doing? They said I can bring those 6 months or just paper from my bank, which is what I did. So you don't have any right to tell me to bring those, because you know that I just started my job. I cannot bring you those papers. So that's kind of crazy situation. So I just wrote to the parliament, but again.
But this is what we are trying to think about here. So if it's like, if a single person, especially like foreigner without a permanent stay, without citizenship and so on, writes an email to them, like they won't read it. They absolutely will not read it. So what we are trying to think of here is, if we have the idea that some kind of legislation needs to change, how do we do it? How do we organize?
I have something to add. I met some girl a few days ago. She's also a foreigner from Serbia, and she told me that she also applied for the Stalin boravak. But when she went there, they gave her like 2 years. They told her, maybe you are going to wait for a long time, so we are going to give you 2 years, so you don't stay without papers, without. So I don't understand. Okay, she's told me that she asked for that, for the permanent stay, based on her child. She has a child here. So I don't know if it's different if you have a child or if you have a job, but the end is the same situation. They are two foreigners, and I don't know why sometimes they. So I don't understand.
It's different in the law.
It's different in the law.
It's different in the law because you have a temporary stay based on work, for example.
Okay.
And then if you get fired or the contract expires or whatever, then your permanent stay stops. But if you have a child here, you know, like it's a family reunification,
So they can give you
the temporary stay, they put it for 2 years. It's easier to get because the child is there and it's not going anywhere. So it's a bit different. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, it's still the question remains. So how do we organize and how do we try to advocate for something that we want to see changed? And this is maybe something to think about. And, but let's hear the ideas from this group, and then we'll see what we can play out. What did you discuss? If you don't have like any ideas, but just to share a little bit what you discussed.
Okay, so we started talking about maybe a need for some centralized way for foreigners to have at least all the information, because they told me it's too idealistic to have everything in one place because nobody has that, but at least a place where all the information and checklists exist with exact documents and addresses and everything for people. So if you come, you explain your situation, you get, oh, so you apply for this and you need this and this, and just go one by one, and that checklist actually works. So nobody can deny you or just ignore it.
Document.
Yeah. So it's an official document which will be respected when you get to a shelter, wherever.
Okay. Any other? Yes, those were. Okay.
We were discussing for a while and then we combined several ideas into.
Okay. No, great. Just to say, like, this is the idea that a similar one that we got already from another, and this is something that you also wrote to the city, in a way that we wanted to ask them to open, like, ulice strance, something like that, a central place. At least if the state doesn't do it, maybe the city administration could do it, to have this kind of thing in one place. They said that, like, within this action plan, they would open it especially for asylum seekers and people who work on asylum, but also that they would then like make it also for other, like, types of internationals, foreign workers, migrant workers, and so on. So hopefully they will do that. So fingers crossed.
In the same way that it's just an information hub, or it's like really putting together everything for each specific situation on one paper with all of the, like, with everything you need from interior, everything you need for health, everything you need for social, everything, like, and that it has what they said, the meaning.
Yeah.
No, not meaning, sorry.
Wait.
It's an official paper, or it's just like an information hub.
Oh, what they're planning to do?
What they're planning.
Let's. I mean, it's just, it needs to be done within 2022. So we will see quickly what will, how it.
The action plan is just for 2020.
Yeah, it is only for 2022. Okay, so puno praviš, ona njihove vrijeme.
Yeah, sorry,
I
mean, I have so many things to say, but okay. Just in addition of what they mentioned, the first group, education for people working in the offices and stuff. I was thinking before, if we have like more young people working in those offices that can make the difference, but actually I also found again myself always in a situation where recently after my stay was denied and everything, I got the job, so I went to apply. Nobody calls, you have to go and then check if they already finished. So the application was like already finished. I knocked on the door. This actually moved. day they are having more young people working in the office. So they were there sitting, they said, oh, Sao Malo. Okay, Sao Malo. I was there, Sao Malo, check out. Sao Malo was already 1 hour. I mean, this is Sao Malo, I don't get it. Can't get those Sao Malo. And then I just opened the door. Okay, she was even not the one who was in charge of my case. So, как се зовеш? She checked 1 minute, even less than that. Okay, можеш ич таму, господиня, and I was like, so they were sitting, tapping on the phone, Sao Malo, 1 hour passed, and you come back, it's dead. She could have just do it quickly. I was like, education maybe also to talk about those issues, but education, if they don't want to go to do it, maybe the boss of the office should make it obligatory for them to go and attend to those. But
this then again, let's see this played out. I will try invite someone from this group, or maybe few of you. It would be also nice to not come individually, but maybe as a small group, to see the situation. So there's we have maybe a project about education of workers in bureaucracy, and the idea was how to get them to actually not only go to not only to go to the education, but also to actually implement what they've learned afterwards. So how would you go about it? Do you have any kind of idea? How would you want to try to convince her to? Okay.
Okay.
Super. Okay. Just to ask. So, who are you?
Who am I? Yes. I'm from Minister send me.
So let's do the. Yeah.
Good. Hello. How are you? Good today. Working a lot.
A lot of things to do.
Yes. I know how it's same here. Yeah.
Where?
In the minister office. I'm coming from the cabinet of minister.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello to minister.
Yeah. She's sending you regards.
Yeah, thank you. We have a nice dinner together.
But before Corona,
Yeah, before Corona, now we cannot see
now
each
kids
other
like. Okay, so we have some, this European stuff, and we must do some educations for you. Yeah. I know, this European Union pushed it, and now
what kind of education?
It's for, for seeking asylum and, to work with these people.
These newspapers and news and everything about these foreigners, migrants. We are working seriously here. Why should I go to education? I have better things to do. You just see this, look, this polica full of cases. I don't have time to educate myself. I have
to educate, maybe then, the minister and everybody will appreciate it, and then you give your points and...
Yeah, maybe a higher salary?
It's definitely when it will be decision, and then...
Think about it is nothing.
They will see, this woman was on education, okay, maybe higher salary.
You can say to the minister to call me, he knows me.
No, he has a lot of job, but it will be on your during your time, here in the building next door.
So I don't need to sit here?
No, you will go there and listen
So I
for a
don't,
few
I don't
hours.
need to work that day? You want to say
You
this?
go there, you will have a coffee and sandwich. Yeah.
Ministry cannot pay
No,
a
it will be
decent
for
lunch for these
if
workers
you,
here.
If you will be good, then we will see. No. Okay, but it's some kind of
you
order.
can send me email.
Yeah.
I will see. But, you know, I have kids as well. You know, I need to go to kindergarten and to pick them up. I don't have time to educate myself.
But I know it will be easier for you. To
It's a
work
very
and-
hard thing to be a mother.
I know, yeah, but. Maybe
But if you can put my name and then they will think
Yeah.
I come, you just sign my name and that's it. I don't need to
No,
do
no,
it.
but this is
You send me, you know, the
obligation, you must
book or
come
whatever
there,
I
you know,
need
it
to
will
do.
be these controls, and then I suggest that you,
know
come,
what?
you know.
I have a
How-
very urgent
what,
call.
you
Very
have,
urgent call. I'm sorry, I need to take this.
I
What to see? No, come on. Slobodno, kako hoćeš, možeš još. Just that, like to see, like, even if we had this idea, like, let's educate, then becoming, like, it's much more complex than that, in the sense, like, we understand, okay, there are many different obstacles here. But what we can do, that maybe we now discovered them and found some points that we can actually try to think about. So maybe it's like to say, yeah, but like you have so much work, so many, like, let's think about this will make your job easier. So maybe this, or okay, but maybe if we are applying through EU projects, maybe we can say, okay, but maybe we can find a way to to give money to people who are working who have like special added more, who are educated to specific problems or specific situations, then they could have extra money, so they would actually be motivated in this sense to educate themselves and to actually have people who are not covering everything but specifically on certain issues. Or just some things that actually came to mind when I was watching this event.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, I mean, okay, we obviously cannot play it on you do this education, you get a bigger salary, because that's, I mean, a whole new system of coefficienti and whatever. And let's face it, I mean, people who work on those kind of positions quite often work for pretty low salary, thank you. And I mean, yeah, okay, we kind of are, turning them into villains right now, but there are people who really are under tremendous amount of pressure and workload that they cannot do on their own. And if we play this along the, this could make your job easier wise, maybe that could change just the perception of the person who is working on that counter. Because if we play it on, I can only imagine how frustrated you become when there are so many different cases that you do not know how to solve, because some of them really don't know. And that's an issue, but that's maybe not something that's their responsibility. They're not always the ones who are guilty for that. And if we can offer, okay, but this type of education will make your life easier, maybe then this person will be okay.
Or maybe we can raise their salary.
Yeah, but this is what Eva was saying. It's difficult with, but maybe it's try to find a way to how to do it. But yeah, it's difficult within the public service. You have this you can't really.
But even after that, okay.
Maybe just like when we've seen in Croatia, in the Zagreb and everywhere, a lot of times how natječaji
calls
for positions are tailored to people you want to take in. So I think there's not that much legislature about putting inside the goal, something about NGO or foreign
Working, like,
experience.
asking for, kako kaže natječaj za posao?
To.
For
Job vacancies.
Something
To
like
put it as a requirement or a plus before other candidates to have skills and or experience or have passed some of the educations to work specifically with people, before people.
Okay.
So that could be maybe
An
not
idea.
attacking just on the, because yeah, we're kind of making fun, which is that we're making fun here of people who are mostly just either not educated or just don't have any power actually, and are working for small money. But to make them require for those positions in the future some experience in that field.
Okay. So this is also one idea. Just to go back to say that we tried things from like coming with Janine directly, to try to help individually, and to think about that, to think about what we can do from our position each, and and then we started to think more in systematic way, and we had ideas of legislative change, and then we started to think about, and I invite us all to continue to think about how can we get those legislative changes to the policymakers. So how we can organize and to get those ideas to those who need to hear them. And then we tried to see if some of those things we encountered the complexity of some of those solutions that are often like big solutions, more or less. And then we also came back to try to think about breaking this into pieces and try to think of those small pieces in order to see how those things can work. So I thank you for that, and I would just really invite you to write down those things that, if you haven't already, that you mentioned now. Like Antonia, you were saying about this way of adding the rights and so on and so on, and the ones about what you just said. So just to write them down, to have them as like about employment, and just to have them as topics, and then when we think together of how we can advocate for them on the national level, we can actually do it and send them to the government as well. In the meantime, we have some kind of channel open to the city administration, so maybe some of those things can be sent to them as well. Flo, sorry, you wanted to say something. Do you want to say?
Yes, about the education. So people can go to the education, but it doesn't mean that they are going to apply it. So I think that there should be some kind of police, or some, not police, but I don't know how to say it in English, but some place where some people could go and jarite if something happens. So, and or some, I think you get what I mean. So I think there should be some people who can practically that is it all.
Yes, because what you said, we can make an obligatory requirement education. When I said the requirement for the job, it really should be like a previous experience with NGOs, working with foreign people, so that it's not you passed an education, it's you are really experienced, at least a little bit, at least so that it shows that you care about helping people.
Okay. So thank you. A big round of applause for you. And then you have the papers